I, I want to talk about what's been happening in France lately. Basically, this is not the first time, really. We've created a situation in France where these things can repeat themselves more and more. So all over the world, people are asking, what can we do about terrorism? Especially in such a country like France, where about, 10% of the population are immigrants. And they are people who basically don't want to be like the French, not in terms of religion, ideology, principles, and values. In terms of freedom, equality, they don't come from there. It's not for them. To them, the French Revolution is a joke. It's not something that they hold precious and dear. So we can see that in France, there's like a time bomb. And not just in France, in many other countries, but especially in France. And this bomb, as we can see, as we just saw in Nice, can explode. And we might, God forbid, see it in other places, but the way things are going, it's quite possible. So here we run up against a big question. Is there a solution? As a person who's been studying and teaching the wisdom of Kabbalah for over 40 years now, I would like to tell you about the solution that the wisdom of Kabbalah offers. I did my PhD in this, in philosophy and Kabbalah. My first profession was biocybernetics, was in science. So I would like to explain that the wisdom of Kabbalah looks at it in this way. It says, actually, it may sound unrealistic, but it's the Jews really who are really the problem here. And that's what the nations of the world say about the Jews. It's your fault, all the troubles in the world. But the thing is that this is so. And that's what the wisdom of Kabbalah says. So here we need to understand why this is so. The wisdom of Kabbalah explains that all the good in the world depends on the connection between people. If people connect positively among them, everything falls into place and they find solutions to everything, and the world develops very positively. It's obvious to everyone that everything depends on the good connections between us. But if we are not connected, then as a result of the lack of connection, we start with wars and problems and terrorism and divorce and every possible trouble. And then we end up in all kinds of trouble. In other words, good and bad in the world depends on the good connections or bad connections between people. So now the question is, how do we achieve connection? The wisdom of Kabbalah says very simply, the world is created on the power of the ego. It's the negative force, and it develops in everyone, collectively and individually. So the more we develop, the more selfish we become. This pushes us, on the one hand, to develop society, technology, and science. And it's as if we're making our lives more comfortable and better. But that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we're becoming more self-centered, isolated, and alienated from each other. And then there are problems like war and terrorism that come along with the modern world. So it seems to have everything, and yet we are in such a terrible state in our relationships. And we get there because of our egoistic desires. We don't want to marry, we don't want to have families, children are leaving home, people become more estranged, far from each other, everyone needs his own apartment. Our egos are separating us as much as possible from one another, and that causes many problems. How do we achieve connection? Just good relationships, friendly relationships. When we see that our world was created, as it is written in the Torah, I have created the evil inclination. So basically, all of us are created out of the evil inclination, the ego, where each of us wants to do good to themselves, even at the expense of others. It's so much so that even when I do something bad to others, that gives me pleasure too. That's our ego. From the smallest ego to the biggest ego, it depends on every person, on every person's level and special character. So how do we come to connect? We cannot connect. We cannot turn our world into a good world unless we find a positive force that stands opposite our negative nature. And that positive force exists in nature, but nature is built on the negative force. We have to bring out the positive force from nature, kind of extract it from nature by ourselves. And then this positive force will balance the negative force. I'm talking about a very practical method. How do we do it? The wisdom of Kabbalah explains that if we connect among us, and it says this about the people of Israel, if the Jews connect among themselves in circles, small circles, like in tens, it's called minyan, like when you pray in a minyan. I'm sorry, again?
Sorry? I say am segula.
Yes, right, am sgula. So if we connect in this way between us, then we discover this positive force between us. We reveal it. If we connect, the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches us how to do this. If we connect among us in circles of 10 people, another 10, another 10, another 10, and another minyan, and another minyan. And I'm not talking about the religious form. I'm just talking about people, just Jews who connect this way, men and women. Then we create between us the good force, the positive force. And the wisdom of Kabbalah explains how to do it. It's not mysticism. Just don't take it in this way. Totally not. It's a science. And we are doing this. These are not methods taken from up there in heaven somewhere. They are written in the wisdom of Kabbalah, in the Torah, in the book of Zohar. They've been written there for thousands of years. This is how we existed until 2,000 years ago. We were connected in tens, just like Moses did. He set us up in tens and then hundreds and thousands. And that's how we existed until we stopped. And then we were exiled because we fell from brotherly love to unfounded hatred. This is called really the ruin of the temple. So what should we do? Rebuild it, do the same as we did before. That's what's written in the wisdom of Kabbalah. To come to a state, it's written in the wisdom of Kabbalah that we will come to a state in history where we will have no choice, because humanity will evolve to a state that is completely, utterly egoistic. People will not be able to connect, will not be able to exist in this way, and there will be crises in families, in science, in human relations, in politics, in every area of human engagement, there will be a shattering. And then people will still need this positive force in order to connect, because our world has become global, integral. We're all connected, and you can't escape it. In such a state, we have to adapt ourselves to nature, to the reality. Just like reality, nature is presenting itself as global. So if we make of ourselves that same shape, the whole of humanity, then we will have a good life, meaning in balance with nature. Right now, we are opposite from nature. We're all dispersed, dismantled, broken. We don't want to connect, but nature, the powers of nature around us are all integral, pushing the whole of nature toward connection. So we are in conflict between human society and the rest of nature, the rest of reality. That's what the book of Zohar explains. That's the reason for all the troubles. And this is why we need to return to this uniform form in all of humanity. How do we do it? Only by implementing what the book of Zohar says. Meaning what? To connect in tens and hundreds and thousands according to the method that is written there. And only in this way we will discover, when we connect in tens, we will reveal this positive force, which will balance our negative force. And if we, the people of Israel, do it, even a part of the people of Israel do it, then this positive force will spread through us to the rest of the world. This is the meaning of being a light to the nations. And then the world will begin to feel that it's receiving the positive force from us, and will stop saying that it's all the Jews' fault, that they're causing all the trouble in the world. Then, in that case, they'll start saying, according to the book of Zohar, that now the Jews have finally started doing good to the world. This is what we need to do. There is a lot more to it, of course, many more additions.
My turn.
Please.
Yes, please.
You know, it's really interesting. It's really interesting because you start with the French society, and you are talking about migrants, and then you say we have to make good connection. And I would like to explain you something regarding the French society. In fact, you are absolutely right. What is now missing is a citizen link. Part of the French population doesn't feel as a citizen. They feel discrimination. They feel a lack of integration. And also, you know, we have this secularism regulation. And this secularism regulation looks like turn against Muslim population, because it's always the question of the veil, of the religious meat, how you slaughter the cattle, and how do you and why you wear the veil, and to prohibit the veil, and to discuss about halal, and to discuss about those kind of things. So, in fact, on one side you are absolutely right, but you analyze about the French society is a little bit restricted, and I have as a French citizen and then as an MP to answer you something. The question of terrorism now is not linked with migrants in France. The question, you know it much better than I do. Becoming a terrorist is an addition of things. It's a sociological problem, political problem, linked with international situation also, and also all that together creates this meshuya that we cannot bring any citizen out of that. But the question of integration and the question of discrimination is on the top of the agenda. And if we are talking about de-radicalization, how to bring the people back. I don't like this de-radicalization. I do prefer how to build the citizen link, because there is a bridge. And it will not come overnight. We will not fix it overnight. And what happened today, what happened in the other place, it's exactly the consequences of this breach of citizenship.
Yes, but I'm not talking about treatments or integration between immigrants and the local population in France, and all the layers of all the classes within the French people. I'm talking about the Jews, specifically through the right connections among the Jews can radiate to society without exception. There will be Muslims there, some radical, some not, and French, Christian French, or non-religious, completely secular French, and all the people. They will radiate the positive force over everyone. This is what Israel, or the Jews, must do. And it's only in our hands. We shouldn't even really be getting into the reasons for why there is terrorism, or what situation every class of the people is in. We're talking about how, through the positive force that the Jews can project over all the people, where the whole country where they are in, how they kind of compel the rest of the people to become good as well. Because what are the anti-Semites are saying? They're saying the Jews are to blame for everything. They cause all the problems in the world. For 2,000 years, we've been told that to our faces.
Well, today, it's a very special day, but today I'm sorry. Today, it's a very special day because we had a celebration of the July 16, 1942, Wrath of the Jews, where all the catch to be sent in the concentration camp. So it's a very special day today to discuss about that. And I think that anti-Semitism is on the top of fighting anti-Semitism is on the top of the agenda of any political people. But with all your respect, how do you promote your idea, which I do understand and respect fully, with conflict with the Palestinian, because that gives such a terrible image of Israel and then merge with the Jewish.
The exact same way, ma'am. Also, through the same positive force of connection between us, if we connect the people of Israel, the Jews, by this we will calm down all the conflicts in the world, everyone, anywhere in the world. I understand that it sounds very fantastic and perhaps unrealistic, but we, the people of Israel, came out from ancient Babylon. Abraham, our father, he explained to the Babylonians why they were in crisis. They were in the exact same crisis we are in right now. The crisis was that they wouldn't want to know about each other. It's called the Tower of Babylon. He was a high-level priest there. And he started telling everyone, it's happening because we are not connected. Let's begin to unite, to connect. So several people came over to him and joined him. Several people, Maimonides, wrote that actually thousands of people joined him. He turned them into a group that engaged in nothing but connection between them, positive connection between them. That group gradually became the people of Israel. In other words, Israel is not a biological, hereditary people. We are a nation by our ideology, an ideology of connection. This is why all of Israel are friends, love your neighbor as yourself, all those sayings that are written in our Torah, that's why they come from us.
But where do you put your prime minister in all this connection? Where do you put the political?
No, I don't know. I'm not in charge of him. I'm not responsible for him. Politics and politicians, that's not my...
Because where do you put, in your ideal view, which it's like my mind, it's something so interesting, but at the same time, how you connect the politician together, because unfortunately they are part of the story.
I
have no regard whatsoever to politicians. To me, they're total zeros, because other than a huge ego, they have nothing. Do you agree?
I'm fine.
No.
So why ask about Bibi or Hollande? They're all the same. I'm talking about Jews, ordinary Jews.
Listen, I didn't know by following on Twitter that I will have this huge discussion this morning. So I'm just receiving it like like a blitz. So it's useful for me to understand, and at the same time, I appreciate tremendously. So I dare asking you some questions.
No, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. I hope that we will not forget what we discussed, and when more problems do come along, you will remember what I mentioned, that there is no other solution but connection to everything that's happening in the world, other than the Jews who have to connect and bring light to the nations, specifically in this way of connection. It has nothing to do with religion or following any precepts or commandments. It has to do with our connection in our hearts. That's what we have to do.
Well, it's our neshama.
Yes. Yes, one for everyone. Good luck to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I hope we'll do it again.
I'd be happy to. I'd be delighted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
To Paris. You'll be my guest.
The first chance I get. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.